Good morning, good evening, and welcome back to Cannon Fodder featuring Gooner Matterz. Now, it is Monday afternoon, midday show. Frustrating news, frustrating experiences this whole season, or at least the back end of the business end of the season. And what a bizarre, stressing moment that is. So, I've got a bit of statistics that I want to sort of lay out. A lot of Arsenal fans and all other pundits has been saying that Arsenal has bottled the league, and I don't like the word bottle and all those type of things. However, no matter how you want to put it, how you want to call it, we've lost out on the league, we've given it away, and we said, City, yeah, go for it. Now, we all knew that most of the season, and I've spoken about this probably in length, is that Mikel Arteta didn't need a plan B for probably 80% of the season, because his plan A had worked for him from the first game up until the Liverpool game, or in fact the Newcastle game at home at the Emirates, where we drew 0-0. By that game, because of the quality Newcastle has or have got, you had to introduce or implement a plan different to what they used to. Because now, if you remember, in the Newcastle game, they started doubling up on Saka and Martinelli, and to an extent Odegaard, and they didn't give our wingers time of day. And we can argue all the controversial VAR decisions. That is part of the game, unfortunately. We could look back on all those type of things and justify the fact that we didn't win the league or drop points. So I think by that game, him and his backroom staff had to start implementing a plan B, because now, since then, you would see that every other team has doubled up on our wingers. And they became ruthless, and they were never protected, really. I mean, Saka was, how many times was fouled by the left backs of the opposing team. The same for Martinelli, and I think in that regard they became stagnant in attacking the fullback of the opposing team. Now, having said that, that is a coaching issue. That's a coaching problem, because at the end of the day, if you see those type of things, you need to implement something different to throw the opposition's plan, to throw them off. Because now obviously they prepared for this particular match, and they were saying Saka and Martinelli will be contained with plus and plus. But we had to counter that and saying, Odegaard, be close to Saka, and Xhaka, be close to Martinelli, or whatever the plan B or C would have been. And I think that it would have started in that game. And now we all know where we're sitting. And Saturday's game was a giveaway. It was a game of a chance thrown. What I mean by that is, mathematically we were still in with a slight chance. And that would have obviously put pressure on Man City. So with the Brighton game, we obviously lost convincingly 3-0 at home, where I again would blame it on no structural changes. I think the manager has been so stubborn in his ways, and like I said in previous times, is that would be his downfall. And it's disrespectful, first of all, to the badge. If you have a team that's been set out, is performing very well this whole season, and are not coming to the party of a fight, that's mediocrity. So in it all, that disrespect the position of Arsenal, really, because you're throwing it away, you're giving it away, you say take it from me, I don't want it. And I've made a scenario on Friday night on the Easy Talk with Cannon Fodder, is that the build up to the back end of the season, you've got a goal, this is your goal, and this is your journey towards your goal. So the players, they know they can do it, they didn't have the belief to do it, therefore they feared, they was afraid to win and get the goal, if you know what I mean. So they were afraid of really winning and how they're gonna maintain and contain that part of the emotion. And to me, it's a slap in the face of the Arsenal fans, because this whole season you've given us something to rave about, to praise you about, to give you all the support that we wanted. And I think Alex of Cannon Fodder was at the Emirates on Saturday, outside for that last week Saturday, and one thing I remember, he said there was a difference in the crowd on that day. If it's like everybody has given up even before the Brighton game started, kickoff. And to me, that was key, because now the stadium is attracting all the fans, and the players could feel there is a void of that togetherness. Anyway, that was just the sort of observation that I had when Alex said something. But nonetheless, what I want to unpack is that we have given the league away after being, for argument's sake, I think it is close to, it's been reported at 93% of the season, we were on top. Now 93% of the season is a long time. That is a long time. That is 2 or 3 games just to take you over the line. And it's 3 massive games. And you know what games was that? It was the West Ham game, the Southampton game, and the Brighton game. Those are the 3 games that should have taken me over the line. So I'm not gonna go with ifs and buts or maybes or whatever you. We've lost it, we've given it away, and that is on us, or rather on the fans. It's on the team and the manager, because they showed mediocrity in those type of games. The pressure got to them, and the fact that the pressure got to them, they crumbled. It's not a wobble, it was a crumble. It was completely giving up. In the Brighton game, they gave up. We've got one game left to play, and it's at home to Wolves. Last season we gave Everton 5-0 on the day of our last game. I don't see that happening this time, because now they've made and been cemented in the top 2. I don't think there's anything to really come out and play for, because City has won the league already. If we had won the Brighton game and we have won the game at Nottingham Forest, we would have been in with a slight chance of City potentially losing 2 games and drawing 1. That would have taken them up to 86, and we would have been on 88 with 1 point difference and we have won the league. That is the scenario, that was the math, and that is it, unfortunately. But this is what is standing out for me. Having said all that, we've lost the league and all that type of thing, 93% on top. In 1995-1996 season, Kevin Keegan's team, Newcastle at the time, for the majority of the season, Newcastle looked destined to win the first league title since 1927, with a side which quickly became known as the Entertainers, sweeping all before them with a thrilling brand of football at one point, and they were 12 points clear. Now, 12 points clear, it's a lot of points. That's 4 games. That's 4 games. We were at one stage 8 or 9 points clear in January or even in March. That was 2 games and 2 games drawn points type of scenario. Newcastle was 12 points clear on top for most of the season. United slowly began close the gap, and when Newcastle lost a 4-3 to Liverpool in the greatest game of their Premier League history, Keegan was disconsolate. The sight of him slumped over the advertising boards at Anfield, becoming one of the defining images of the season. Now, I can argue that Arteta didn't go all that route. However, his face says it all though. And just a few weeks later though, he produced an even more memorable moment after a 1-0 win at Leeds, and Keegan let rip at Ferguson, who had publicly questioned whether the opponents would fight as hard against Newcastle as they had against the United team. Now, what he means by that is the opponents of United didn't fight the fight against United as they were against Arsenal. So again, similarities that came from that season is with us as well, because Arsenal had opponents that's going all out against them. The Brightons, the Forest, the Brentfords, the Newcastle, Southampton, for Pete's sake. These are the teams that came out and they wanted to kill Arsenal for whatever reason, and they didn't do as much as they did to us like they did to City. And that is probably the similarities you can sort of point out. Now, in all that 12 points that Keegan and Newcastle were on top, it says here that unfortunately for Keegan, United did go to Middlesbrough and get something, 3 points in fact, and they ended up winning the title quite comfortably in the end, with Newcastle drawing the final 2 fixtures. Both Keegan and his team had been broken by Alex Ferguson's masterclass in the art of mind games. Again, Pep Guardiola and Manchester City, the same with Arsenal. There was a total mind games of him going to the media saying, Arsenal on top, they're 6 points clear or 8 points clear, and even though we've got games in hands, we still have to win those games. And as I said it before, this is mind games that is starting to play, and that happens. And then it goes on in 1997, 1998, the Manchester United Fergie's Fury, it said. People might not remember the name, but everyone remembers the face when Arsenal beat Premier League leaders Manchester United at Old Trafford on March 14, 1998. The coverage cut from the pitch to the crowd, where a curly-haired gooner called Barry First looked like he was almost about to explode with joy. Now, in his excitement was understandable because of Mark Overmars' late goal. Arsenal were just 6 points behind United and with 3 games in hand. And this is the same scenario again. City was 6 points behind Arsenal, also with 2 or 3 games in hand, and clearly rattled Alex Ferguson, that tried to play down the significance of his side's defeat by questioning both Arsenal's quality and composure. Now, we've obviously know what happened in all that scenarios, and if they win their games in hand, they will go ahead of us. But they will find out they start dropping points towards the end of the season. There's no question about that, said the Scotsman. Now, they played well today, but I don't think they are as good as they played well today, but I don't think they are as good a football team as us. Ferguson has said that. Now, indeed, that victory at Old Trafford proved that the second of 10 consecutive wins that saw Arsenal win the title with 2 games to spare. Now, exactly what happens now is City has been on a winning run for at least 11 to 12 games consecutively, and they still have 2 games in hand. Oh, today is 3. And they've won the league with 3 games to spare. So again, the scenario that we're facing now is not just coming from now this season. I mean, there's managers like Kevin Keegan, beautiful player, beautiful manager, Alex Ferguson. Ferguson, meanwhile, was furious. United had led by 11 points after beating Chelsea in February. One Manchester bookmaker even paid out on them, winning the title after that win, and blew the chance to move 14 points clear after suffering a shock loss at Sheffield United, which was followed by a 1-1 draw at West Ham. Now, you see, the pressure is high when it's on top. Now, I don't want to justify anything that Arsenal has done in the back end of the season, but the reality remains is that top class players, top managers has failed to do what Mikel Arteta failed to do now. It is reality, it is factual, it is statistics that has given us I'm of the opinion, rather, let me put it this way, is that irrespective of how I feel, how disappointed I am that we didn't win the league from the point where we were, consoles my thoughts and in my mind is to say that Alex Ferguson, a legend in the game, Kevin Keegan, a legend in the game, even Arsene Wenger, a legend in the game, has done this already. Now, the reigning English champions eventually finished their campaign without a major honour, which was unthinkable before the Arsenal loss, but that Overmars goal changed everything, and first, and his fellow fans knew it too, and that was the year that Manchester United were clear with 12 points at one stage, and also dropped points profusely in 1997-1998 season. Now, this one is also very hard to take. 2002-2003, Arsene Wenger was enraged by the portrayal of the Arsenal Premier League campaign as a failure. Of course, we want to win the title, but I think the most difficult thing for the club is to be consistent, and we have been remarkably consistent, he argued. And we lost the league to a team who spends 50% more money every year. Last year they bought a player of £30 million when they lost the championship. Now, I won't agree with that, is that when you spend money more than other clubs that you are buying your league, is unfortunately they have the means, and yes, they can buy players they want, in this case Manchester City, and I tried to look up all the history before the takeover of Manchester City. I mean, that is still to come, but we can't blame it on that entirely. Now, after beating Charlton on the 2nd of March 2003, they were 8 points clear, albeit having played one game more than United. However, what followed was a disastrous run of results, deja vu, I think, with Arsenal winning just 2 of their next 7 games and a shock 3-2 defeat at home to Leeds on May the 4th, effectively ended their hopes of retaining the title. Now, that to me sounds like exactly this season. We were clear, it says here they were clear with 8 points. We were clear with 8 points. And disastrous draws and losses against teams that we should have won. It brought us back to almost the same period of 2002-2003. Now, as the Frenchman considered himself that day, for the first time, it is out of our hands, which is hard to take. And unfortunately for Arsenal, it was a blow from which they never recovered, with the fatal Leeds loss coming just 8 days later. Again, now you can argue the Liverpool game. I don't count that game really. We could have lost that game. The West Ham and Southampton game and against last week's game, those are the games we should have won, and we're looking back at that now. And then again, 2007-2008, Gallas breaks down at Birmingham, crying, and Arsenal's collective loss of concentration on an infamous afternoon at St Andrews in February 2008 was understandable. After just 3 minutes of their game against Birmingham, they had seen teammate Eduardo suffer a roughly broken leg after a terrible tackle by Martin Taylor. However, William Gallas' late meltdown was utterly inexplicable and arguably unforgivable. At the time when the Arsenal skipper should have been trying to rouse his disappointed teammates, he was instead sitting on the pitch having the mother of all strops. That's not right. He's the leader. You need to obviously look at your players and give them the support they need. However, and I'm skipping a couple of pointers in between. However, they only managed to win one of their next 7 games and eventually finished third, 4 points behind champions Manchester United. Now, again, we've lost from a league position or league winning position and going down and lost focus completely and gave a victory again to the Manchester United. Now, the next one was Manchester United 2011-2012, Fergie upset by noisy neighbours. Manchester City, and I think by then they already would, or there was a takeover in 2007, I think, of Manchester City. Alex Ferguson thought he had seen it all in more than 3 decades in football management, but even he felt astounded by his Manchester United blowing a 4-2 lead in an epic draw with Everton at a vital point in 2011-2012 title race. I was a throwaway, an absolute giveaway. Ferguson fumed. We just needed to see the game out, and it's a travesty because some of our football was fantastic. The goals we scored were great, and to give away 4 goals at Old Trafford at home was disappointing, and I just can't believe it. Now, unfortunately for Ferguson, they were about to get even more incredible and even more devastating for United. Now, United kept the pressure on right until the last seconds of the season by beating both Swansea and Sunderland. However, City won the closest title race in Premier League history thanks to that Sergio Aguero goal on the final day. And that is the season that United were very distraught. He says it was really bad, a giveaway. And that's how I'm feeling today. It's that we give it away. We gave it to City. In 2013, 2014, this does not, to swear word, slip now. That's Liverpool. Now, Liverpool captain Steven Gerrard gathered his teammates around him into a huddle and told them, this does not effing slip now. The Reds had just beaten title rivals Manchester City 3-2 to move 2 points clear of Chelsea at the top of the Premier League. Third place City still had 2 games in hand, but defeat at Anfield had left them 7 points behind the leaders. Now 7 points from third to second to first. That's two games in a draw, and Liverpool were on top. And this is the next part. A first top flight title since 1990 was now there for the taking for Brendan Rodgers, the resurgent Reds, who had surprisingly propelled themselves into contention with 10 consecutive wins. They extended that remarkable run to 11 by defeating Norwich City the following weekend, but then Liverpool capitulated. Now, everybody is talking about Arsenal's capitulation this season. I'm sick and tired of rival fans forgetting about the past, how they have bottled it and obviously giving it to Arsenal. Now, this sounds more of a justification, but I am proud of the fact that where we were since the last 19 years that we've won a league and where we are now. That to me is it's consolation to see, and having read this has given me even more and more support to the Arsenal. I still am disappointed. I am still fuming about just giving away the league. However, I have a balance in my mind and in my heart about the emotions I'm feeling towards the team now. However, despite them dominating the game, they slipped up literally in injury time at the end of a scoreless first half. Gerrard, of all people, remember Gerrard called his teammates together and said, we're not going to even slip this up. Lost his balance and the ball in his own half, allowing Demba Ba to race clear and score. Now, Liverpool and Gerrard in particular laid siege to the Chelsea goal in the second half, but as Rodgers lamented afterwards, Mourinho had parked 2 buses. Mourinho had parked 2 buses in front of the Kop goal. Look, you can say what you want, but he had a plan A and he had a plan B, probably a C and D. But the fact that Rodgers is coming out and said Mourinho parked 2 buses, that is his plan to stop Liverpool. So he had to make a plan to stop Liverpool from exceeding and winning the league. We failed to do that. So Liverpool obviously gave the league away, and Manchester City, I think it was that season, where is it? Yeah. In their penultimate fixture of the season, Liverpool inexcusably blew a 3-0 lead at Crystal Palace while repeatedly pouring forward in a desperate attempt to eat into City's superior goal difference. They left themselves wide open at the back in the closing stages of the game at Selhurst Park and were held to a draw that effectively ended their title challenge. It would be easy if you lifted the carpet, pushed them under, and you never thought about them again. And this is what was said by the pundits. So that is the teams that have bottled the league prior to our season now. So have a look at it. Go look it up. It is the most dramatic title races collapse. And in Premier League, we've seen it. We've seen it. Arsenal doing it twice before. Manchester doing it twice before. Liverpool doing it twice before. And of course, Newcastle have done it. Now Arsenal has got a hat-trick in collapse in the Premier League. So that is where I'm at, people. I'm frustrated with Arsenal. I am flabbergasted with the behavior of the players on the pitch. I mean, Saturday's game was a left-right passing game. No penetration. Saka, one of our best players of the season, one shot on target. Odegaard was hibernating. Partey, now this is what kills me. You've got a left back on the bench. You have played a left-footed player, defender, in a right centre-back position for 2 or 3 games. What changed now? An ideal situation where you need Tierney to start a game, you put a midfielder in right back. If you had stuck with your defense and just changed Tierney because Zinchenko is apparently injured, bring Tierney in, you would have been structured and stronger in a defense point of view. And if you want to play Partey and Jorginho together, then take out Xhaka or something, or put Emil Smith Rowe in. Pardon me, put Emil Smith Rowe in there. But now you take charge and change things for whatever reason on the game that you had to win, and knowingly that Forest is fighting relegation, you will make changes like that. Yes, we want to see changes, we want to see plan Bs and Cs but in drastic changes that you've done, you're changing formation, you're changing tactics, it is a whole lot of nonsense. But then again, well done to City that not even kicked the ball, that have won the league with 3 games to spare. And now they might win those 3 games, and it's 85 points at current, 85 plus 9, you're looking at 94 points. They're ending on 94 minus 81, 13 points clear of Arsenal that has been 8 points most of the season on top. 8 points, 9 points. Wow. Nonetheless, people, have your say. Gently touch the like, share the video, go over to Gooner Matterz and subscribe to Cannon Fodder TV. As Alex would say, for Arsenal fans all over this world. This has been Cannon Fodder.